Everyone. Today we're going to present the DecideAI 2025 June-July update. So we got three big updates, new releases for the Decide ID model, the OIDC integration, and the IC file uploader. So I want to brag about the model, explain the use case of OpenID Connect, and mention the IC file uploader, which improved the upload speeds. And then if we have time, we'll touch on a proposal to accelerate AI on the internet computer. So Decide ID is the first state-of-the-art AI model running on a blockchain. This is an AI model that outperforms the best available models anywhere. So a true state-of-the-art model. An ID is the first practical use case of decentralized AI. A, it's as good as a model that can be found on any Web2 platform. That's true use case. And B, its costs are comparable to hosting on a centralized service like AWS. And even if we set it just right, we can get even cheaper, which is pretty amazing. And let's start with the model performance. So if we're comparing to the best available open source model coming from the renowned facial embedding model from InsightFace, the best open source model, we can improve over them by 600% where it matters the most. So in order to break down these numbers, let's talk about what global scope is, what single case scope is, and what average precision and AUC are. But real quick, let's talk about what embeddings are. Embeddings are we take an image and we convert that image into a series of numbers, 512 real numbers, decimal place numbers, to represent what that person's face looks like. And so in order to have the global scope, what we're doing is we're looking at how the embeddings, how the representations of the images compare if we're comparing all the embeddings that exist in the database. And then the single case scope is if we focus on a single embedding and how that relates to all the others. So I think about it in terms of a matrix. The global scope is the whole matrix looking at all the values, and the single case is looking at each row at a time. They're both important, but global is more important because it's like what you end up using at the end of the day. So what we're measuring is whether two embeddings are the same person or not, right? So that's just a 0, 1. Are they the same or are they not? And so AUC is a well-established measure of classification accuracy. It says if we look at the predictions, which are real values, like continuous numbers from 0 to 1 or negative infinity to infinity, right? So these are decimal place numbers. How many ones are above the zeros, right? So that's what we want. And so that's what AUC directly measures, how many ones are above the zeros. An average precision is a more informative measure of the same thing, but it focuses on the results that are at the top of the list. So like really, what are those top most similar scores? Are they the same person or are they a different person? And it's really important that we're not just in the top 5 for our application, but the actual top 1, right? And this is the kind of thing that became important when we talked about algorithmic feeds like TikTok or search engine feeds for query results. It's not, we don't just want to be better than the middle, but the top is the most important. And so like we see the average precision compared to the best model available in open source, we're a 5.6x reduction in error, jumping from 66 to 94, or the AUC, which is a little bit skewed in terms of the numbers, right? Because they're just like higher, so it's harder to make those incremental gains in terms of subjectivity. Like, but the reality is it's actually a 6x gain to go from 96 to 99.3. And the same thing for single case, we also see these large improvements, not as much as the global, but the global is actually more important. So that's pretty awesome. And so, like the use case, we all know that Sybil resistance is really important in the Web3 community. And Decide ID is going to set itself up as a WorldCoin competitor. And the ID real use case expands beyond Web3, right? So we're trying to rebuild trust in online communities. And so this is integrating ID can allow us to rebuild trust in our digital world. We can more easily reduce spam and identify if a product or review is incentivized or not. So this is like making the digital world like a real place again, so that we don't just have throwaway identities. Um, and then this whole setup is also has a opposite flip side. where we talk about, oh, we can identify that people are human, that they're unique humans, but we can also use it to identify the way you unlock your phone. So we can combine multiple forms of ID, right? Thumbprints, palm prints, unique voice signatures, and combine these biometrics with vet keys to deprecate the need to write down recovery phases, right? So we don't need to worry about accidental losses. We can really make the world of crypto much more friendly and maintain its security. And so then one thing that I'm really excited about, right, is we can combine this with a multi-signature set for either additional security. Not only do I need to prove it, but my mom and dad need to approve it too. So that's triple redundancy, like even more security. Or you could, set up a more traditional multi-sig with two of three. And that way, if something were unfortunate to happen to you, your wallet could still be addressed, like accessed by your family, right? In a friendly, user-friendly way, which is really important for the future of crypto. And the OpenIDC Connect uh, enables this to be used in any Web2 application, right? Because there's tons of Web2 applications out there, and they're going to increasingly need to use ID verification, Sybil resistance. All these growing problems of spam are only going to get worse. And so, um, not only can it be used in any Web2 application, but any other blockchain as well now. So the OpenIDC Connect uh, is now available, and developers are working on integrating it. And so the IC file uploader, my little pet project. This is useful for uploading large files, right? So we use it for large uploading AI model weights, right? We have several models. Several just go into the ID itself, but we have multiple AI models on the internet computer. The newest release, 0.1.3, includes client-side parallelization. So despite the sequential nature of update processing, by sending multiple packets simultaneously, we can increase the throughput of uploads. The fastest we've seen is 0.31 megabits per second into the IC, but in local networks, we got 3.5. So what's next is distributed side server architecture. So for video streaming, we're targeting 10 megabytes per second, which we're going to do this distributed client server side setup. And that's a precursor to video streaming, like I just mentioned, and being able to do liveness assessment on the IC, which is the cherry on the Decide ID cake. And that covers the recent advancements at Decide AI. And for like a deep cut on AI on the IC, we can keep going. We'll just talk a little bit. And so in the DEAI working group, I recently proposed research into improving AI efficiency on the internet computer. And this centers around the fact that the internet computer has its own unique WASM time fork, combining the fact that all the nodes have hardware specs, right? So all IC nodes use AMD processors. So all the hardware providers, so AMD, Intel, Mac, and more, like obviously NVIDIA, but that's not really focused on a CPU. All the hardware providers have these types of libraries in order to 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 increase ML efficiency uh, using hardware specific strategies. And so, in order already to use SIMD, which was a huge gain on the internet computer, we had to go through the process of compiling to WASI rather than unknown unknown, and leverage WASI2IC library, which transpiles WASI code into internet computer specific runnable code, runnable binary for IC WASM time. And so with minor tweaks to the IC WASM time and WASD2 IC, we could push forward this broad advancement of AI on the internet computer. And we could see 4 times gain in efficiency, right? So ML would become 4 times cheaper, and queries and updates would 4x their capacity. That would be a huge immediate gain across the board for all AI applications, and an 8x speed. So over the efficiency gain, we'd see like another double in speed. And so those are the big things that we've released recently and are talking about for the greater community. And I hope to give you even cooler stuff next time. So take care, guys.